Hi, this is Curt and welcome to another edition of Fire Law Roundup.
A new one for me. A really new one is the last one. We're going to Pennsylvania. Not a new issue, but a new spin on this. We have a fire chief who is charged criminally with failing to report the alleged sexual abuse by a deputy chief against I think he's 15 years old. So I think the 28-year-old assistant or deputy chief allegedly sexually assaulted a 15-year-old. I think male, female, I don't know. So really interesting. The fire chief allegedly knew about it and didn't report it. Wow. Right. So one, he's charged with, for those wondering, like, what is he charged with? Obstruction of justice. I wonder, and I don't know, in New York State, EMTs are mandated reporters. Firefighters are not. They tried to be added. They were never added to the list. I don't know. In this state, maybe they aren't, but obstruction of justice. Interesting. If he did learn about it, and I'm going to interpret this in how I understand obstruction in New York, which is probably universal, you have to intentionally interfere with the investigation, prosecution, right, administration of justice with regard to a crime. So if he learned about it and then hid it, that would be obstruction, right? If he didn't report it, it would be obstruction. Now, if he knew it was already reported and then didn't make a second report, probably not obstruction if he knew the criminal process was already in place. But this is a big deal. And I think chiefs, this is like the shot heard around the world as far as I'm concerned. I think the chiefs really should pay attention. If there's something criminal happening in your department and you don't report it, I don't care whether it's theft or sexual assault or whatever it is. If something bad is happening, criminal, and you don't report it, this to me is a new spin. I've not seen this before. I don't know what your database shows.
Yeah, I've got a couple of cats. I was just writing them down so I would be able to talk about them, but it's not uncommon. And here's the challenge. Okay. You're the fire chief and you have two employees who you value, one making the complaint and one the perpetrator of whatever it was. Okay. And you're trying to resolve it. And these things come up. It could be, well, he called me a name or he, did something that I don't like. Okay. Well, we deal with those all the time. There's not a problem. But once the allegations involve something that is criminal and you try to manage that in the house, in-house, you have that potential for whether it's witness tampering, however you want to characterize it under state law, but it could be obstruction of justice. Now, we had cases, one of the first ones I'm aware of where a fire chief, and both of the cases I'm going to talk about involve the chief and the assistant chief. So you have 5 bugle and 4 bugle positions were charged criminally with covering up a criminal act. And the first one was in Shreveport, Louisiana. The second one was in Ellis County, Texas. And these are both over the last 10 years or so. But they had some inappropriate conduct. And here's the thing, I wouldn't get paranoid about all crime. The ones that seem to get us in trouble the most involve some sort of sexual misconduct.
As they should.
Okay, those are the ones. If you have an allegation that somebody fudged a time report, that could be criminal. Okay, I wouldn't lose my mind over that. You have an allegation that somebody inappropriately touched a junior firefighter in the on
duty, right? This is not off-duty conduct, Garrity, whatever, right? This is on-duty conduct. So
yeah,
and had to be reported.
Right, absolutely. And Shreveport involved some sexual improprieties that involved people with disabilities, mental disabilities. Okay. The case in Ellis County, Texas involved a Portuguese sausage hazing of a 17-year-old new firefighter, some sort of a hazing where they sodomized them with a Portuguese sausage or something or another. And I can understand why. I can understand the dilemma that the chief is in, because the last thing you want is this getting out. But the second to the last thing you want is this getting out? The most important thing is you don't want to go to jail for it.
Right. Right.
And you have to realize that that is one of the consequences that's on the table when these allegations surface.
And let's interject for a second to say, don't investigate crimes, allegations of crimes in your own department on your own to see whether you think it rises to that level. As soon as you get a hint that this is criminal, it should be reported and turned over to somebody outside the department, because you are in a no-win situation if you investigate and determine, I don't think this is criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be hung out to dry.
Case in point. So
yeah,
we'll see where it goes. I mean, there are allegations right now that, you know, he has been charged, but we'll see if the charges stick. I will tell you, in Shreveport, the charges were dismissed against the chief and the assistant chief. So they were not convicted. They lost their jobs, and there was some civil suits trying to get their jobs back.
That's what's coming.
Okay, but the bottom line is they were not sustained. I'm not really sure what happened in Ellis County, and certainly if anybody is aware, please write in and let me know. But I do know that the charges were filed against the chief and the assistant chief in Ellis County, and I don't know what the outcome was.
And either way, look, as we say, and probably a lot of people say, this story is unimportant. It's the headline, right? And here, this headline is never going away. It's going to, it's going to track him. And he looks, unfortunately here, the fire chief looks like he was covering up a sexual assault. I don't know what happened, but it doesn't matter what happened.
Yeah. And I, in any of the cases, I don't think that was the case. The chief is looking out for the reputation of the department, and, trying to manage the overall problem. And maybe they don't believe the complainant. Maybe that's part of it as well, that they believe that the person didn't do it. Regardless, especially when there's allegations of sexual improprieties, you have to report it. It's
right. Nobody should take that on themselves, right? Bring in an independent investigator, or if it's a civil type issue like theft, but my God, criminal stuff, reported it, and saying that he's looking out for the department isn't a good statement. Right. Well, why weren't you looking out, they will say, for the 15-year-old who's being sexually assaulted in your department? This is just such a no-win for the chief. But when you watch the video, they show the perpetrator getting carried out in handcuffs. If you don't have context to the name, you don't know who's coming out to handcuffs.